Hey folks, Henish here again with another awesome episode of I've Got Ethereum here with my friend Angeline Ahn, Vice President with Pacific Coast Title, but we're not going to talk about title or real estate or business or anything. What's your theory?
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
The theory that I wanted to talk about today was your upbringing has a lot to do with your future success in life, business, whatever it may be, relationships.
Okay. Tell me more.
So my parents had my sister early on and had me about 6.5, almost 7 years later. So we both kind of grew up as only children. However, the difference was I felt that having a sibling significantly older than me, we never really had a chance to bond or to be close or share certain memories together. Whereas now I have two daughters of my own who are a little less than 2 years apart. And the bond that they've grown to have, I feel like will impact their future lives greatly in terms of having that social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my sister and I were polar opposites. She's an introvert. She doesn't talk much. We don't share intimate feelings with each other, where I'm completely on the opposite spectrum, being in sales, loving to talk to people and just putting myself out there.
Mm-hmm. So are you proposing that if people have kids, they should have them in closer succession?
Yes, as close as possible. And now I didn't plan mine that way. It just kind of happened. But I feel like with their bond and with their social skills that they create early on in their lives will probably enable them to become more successful in terms of, relationships with friends, relationships with, spouses, boyfriend, girlfriend, things of that nature. Whereas my sister now today, she's 42, she's unmarried, she has a hard time talking to people, she dates online, and she's an extremely good writer. So her profile looks great, but then the minute you meet with her, the dates don't follow thereafter because she's so meek and she doesn't really even know how to deal with people.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like having an upbringing with siblings around you really help
Socialize?
flourish those skills and help socialize, even in your infant years, your toddler years.
Yeah. Yeah, my kids are closer in age. The first two are 2.5, and the
Mm-hmm.
the second and third are only 1.5 years apart.
Oh, wow.
So they're all pretty tight.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we could see them already playing together. My wife is a big proponent that she didn't like being the only girl
Mm-hmm.
with two other boys.
Right.
And that's what we've got right now. So she's adamant on having a fourth. So at least for the odd even one, and then two for the gender thing.
You should totally do it. If my husband were 5 years younger, we'd definitely be having a third.
And so, yeah, so now we're potentially having a fourth, but...
Potentially meaning you're working on it? Or?
No, we're not working on it, but it's not off the table, and she's planning on doing it. We're just kind of waiting for some things to settle in. And also our newest one's only 8 months old, so if we had another baby, that'd be less than 2 years.
Right.
Also, it's just a lot of kids in diapers.
It is.
A lot of kids in diapers. So once we get through it, we're looking forward to it. But on the flip side, let me ask you this. Is it possible for people that have a gap between their siblings to become closer as they get older because age isn't as much of a difference at that point?
Yes. So in my example, my sister and I were not close at all up until about 3 years ago when my grandparents passed away. That really brought us much closer. Although she really still has a hard time opening up to me. So we don't really get intimate in terms of those type of conversations, but we have definitely made an effort. I definitely have made an effort, she has too, to see each other, to kind of keep up with each other's lives and things like that. So
yeah, no, I recognize that with my own, because I have one brother who's 3.5 years younger. When we were kids, we were friends, and then when we were in high school, we kind of drifted apart because it was like, I'm a teenager and you're a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then in late college and after in our 20s, that gap seemed smaller. And now, he's only 3.5 years younger. It doesn't seem like anything.
Right.
We're really close. He only lives half a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we do have very different lifestyles, because I have kids and a wife, and he's just dating and doesn't have any children.
Same with me.
We're still very close. And I'm glad that we're able to connect in that way. So it's possible that you can get back together, but maybe it's kind of, you need that communication or that a sibling counselor.
Yes.
It can be a third party that can learn each other's communication styles, because obviously she's got a different communication style than you.
Completely different, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I try to, use the encouraging method, to really sugarcoat or butter her up, in hopes of, getting some content from her. Hasn't worked out too well, but I'm still working on it.
What if you did a writing exercise?
Well, writing is not my forte, so I don't think I would do very well at it.
That way you have to kind of compromise a little bit.
Right.
So if you went through some kind of writing
That's a good
workshop
idea.
exercise and say, okay, let me see if I can speak to you on a language that you
paper.
understand.
Mhm.
And then she might be able to communicate better what she's feeling
Right.
on paper as well.
That's a really good idea.
Just as an
You
idea.
can bring like the whole pen pal thing
Right.
back, right?
It's like texting versus
Yep.
calling.
Yeah.
And if you can share more, and some people are good at that, right? People do pen pal relationships that are
Mhm.
great at it.
Mhm.
Like I said, she's a good writer, so maybe she can communicate that way with you.
That's a good
and-
idea.
and
I'm
form
gonna
a
try
better
that.
bond. So restate your theory. So you're proposing that people should have their children in short succession so they can have tighter relationships.
Exactly.
Angeline, thanks for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
All right.